Dividends for passive income is absolutely phenomenal, but the problem is that most dividend stocks and ETFs pay you out every quarter, which means that you get a dividend every 3 months. And so what I wanted to find was the best monthly paying dividend ETFs, and I did that on this video here. As you guys know, my name is Professor G, and I am an actual university professor, and I made this channel to make investing simplified. The first monthly dividend ETF is SDIV, which is the Global X Super X Dividend ETF. This one has 107 of the highest dividend paying equities around the world. This makes it diversified worldwide, not just in the US. This could be one of the highest potential dividend players available on the market today in the form of an ETF. It also takes less than $10 to invest in this one, so it's very easy to jump into this position. This is also a great one to get a bunch of real estate exposure because a lot of other ETFs don't have any real estate. So the diversification on this one is massive. Now, like I said before, this ETF has one of the highest dividends that I've seen, and this one has a dividend yield of 15.65%. Now the fund overall, year to date, is down 27%, which is normal. A bunch of things are down right now. Over the last 10 years, it's pretty stable and only down 1%, which means it isn't really one that grows very much at all, but it also doesn't lose a lot, and so you know what you kind of get. The expense ratio is high at 0.58%, but again, you are getting that high dividend yield. The holdings in this ETF are very high in real estate and financial services, and the top 10 are all international companies, which may be a great way to add diversity to your overall investing portfolio by getting outside the United States. I like this fund because they have made monthly dividend payments for the last 10 years, which means that they're consistent and stable, and so I like to see a little bit of history when investing in something like this. This one's definitely one to research a little bit deeper, but I do like the upside on that dividend specifically. This next one, number 2, is an actively managed fund where they switch out their picks yearly. And so when you invest in this fund, you're investing in the highest paying and highest growing dividends available. It does all the work in one place so that you don't have to worry about buying and selling different dividend stocks depending on how they're doing. You can just buy it once, sit back, and collect those dividend checks. It's also very safe and very consistent. This one is the PEY Invesco High Yield Equity Dividend Achievers ETF. It has a current price of $21.05. The dividend yield is nice and high at 4.05%. Now, year to date, this thing is up 3.46%, which is huge because pretty much all other ETFs are down. Over the last 10 years, it's up 12.8%. The holdings in PEY are high in utilities, financial services, consumer defensive, and healthcare, with companies in the top 10 like Altria, AT&T, Exxon, and Edison. The expense ratio is a little bit higher at 0.52, but again, you're paying for an actively managed fund to do all the work to receive the highest dividend possible with consistency, so there is some give or take there. This next one, in number 3, is my personal favorite because it has a very high dividend, but it's also very safe and consistent. It has a dividend of 6.31%, and this ETF invests in the top 50 highest dividend paying equities in the United States, while also having low betas relative to the S&P 500 in order to keep volatility low. Some parts of your portfolio should have some risk, but other parts need to be safe in order to keep you stable through a market downturn. But when you can get something safe and stable while also getting a crazy high dividend, that's the kind of ETF that I'm looking for. This one is called DIV, which is the Super Dividend US ETF. And real quick, I usually make new picks like this for my portfolio, and then I usually tell you guys about it later on. So it's been a week or two since I made that pick, and it was usually made at a time when the price was the most favorable. I started a Patreon. I'm super excited now to be able to update those of you that choose to be involved in this exclusive group where I'm going to post up-to-date exclusive content, exclusive videos, and have a group chat that's available for people who are serious about investing and who want to learn more from like-minded people. So the big value in this for those of you that choose to be involved is not just to see my picks or what I'm even buying, but more so to see how I'm thinking about it and what I'm looking at so that you can make picks that make sense for your portfolio. I try my best to make these videos very general for things that you can be looking at and that might be good for anyone's portfolio, but each person needs to have these individual picks that really pushes them way closer to their financial freedom very, very fast. And so the types of videos that I'll post there are not just me picking a stock, but why I'm picking the stock and what's going on through my mind and what's going on in the economy that made me think about doing that right then and there. Normally this membership is gonna be $50 a month, but I'm actually gonna have an introductory price for a short period of time at only $20 a month, and I'll never raise the price on you, ever. The link is down below in the description. Let's have some fun. All right. Back to DIV. This one has a current price of $19.24. It has a dividend yield, like I said, of 6.31%. It's down a little over 1% for the year. And for the last 5 years, it's up 3.4%. It has an expense ratio of 0.45%, which is high, but not as high as the other ones. I really like this one because they really put an emphasis on that low beta for the S&P 500. And the whole point here is to make it very low volatility, which means that in times like a market downturn like we're seeing right now, it should do pretty well compared to the rest of the market. And seeing as the S&P 500 is down over 17%, and other ones are down 20, 30, 40%, and this one is actually up 3%, I'd say that this has done exactly what they wanted it to do. So I like this one for the high dividend, but I also like it for the consistency. And it is important to understand what's happening in our economy now and what will probably happen next year. And so at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you the secret as to how you're going to not only survive this possible recession next year, but how you'll actually set yourself up to be in a better place than you are now at the end of this recession. So stick around for that. Now the fourth pick on my list is the WisdomTree US Quality Dividend Growth Fund, DGRW. The index is comprised of 300 companies in the WisdomTree Dividend Index, which defines the dividend-paying universe of companies in the US stock market with the best combined rank of growth and quality factors. Now this one has a little bit lower of a dividend, but it's one of those ones that's even more consistent than most out there. And when you're investing in dividends, you really need to care about consistency because you're trying to have this passive income forever. And so you don't want it to ever just drop suddenly on you. And this dividend yield is 2.13%. Year to date, the fund is down -5%, and it's up about 13.5% for the last 5 years. The expense ratio is the lowest of the group so far at 0.28%, and the holdings are high in consumer defensive, healthcare, industrials, and technology. The companies within this ETF are very recognizable in the top 10, especially Microsoft, Apple, Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi. This ETF takes into account future growth, which is awesome, especially if you're investing in things like VOO or VTI or even SCHD, which are all safe and foundational ETFs. And so this is just a good one to add to those to be able to get that hybrid between possibly growth and dividend. All right, this fifth one on my list, I know I'm gonna get some comments about because it's technically not an ETF.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But it's basically exactly what an ETF is. An ETF is just a group of other companies all put together in one place for you to buy that share. So you're buying a little percentage of each of the companies. And so this one isn't an ETF, it's actually a REIT, but it trades like a stock. And so I'm sure that's super confusing, but I'm gonna explain why it's such a big advantage to be able to buy something that's traded like a stock, but it's actually a REIT, which kind of is an ETF. And a couple of the main reasons that I love this one is because it has a crazy high dividend at 4.6%. It has paid a dividend yearly for over 53 years, and it's incredibly safe as one of the absolute best recession-proof stocks anyone could own. This one is Realty Income, ticker symbol O. The large cap retail REIT owns over 11,000 properties, mostly focused on retail, and spread across more than 1,000 tenants operating in roughly 70 different industries. Realty Income generates most of its rent from tenants that have a service, non-discretionary, or low price point element to their business, providing some insulation from e-commerce. Nearly half of its tenants have investment-grade credit ratings. Their clients include companies like Home Depot, FedEx, 7-Eleven, CVS, and Sam's Club. These are huge players of companies that are not going out of business anytime soon, so if that's who's renting from you, you have a pretty solid business model and you can forecast pretty easily. The REIT's occupancy rate has never dipped below 96%, even during the financial crisis and pandemic. Again, the dividend yield is 4.6%. The current price of the stock is $64.70. Now, like I was talking about before, when you're able to buy something that is basically a REIT or an ETF, but it trades like a stock, you get to buy this with no expense ratio, 0. So this is the cheapest one for you to buy out of all of them, and it helps diversify your portfolio because it gets you into that real estate play. Most people would consider this the best dividend stock that's out there, and so I'd love to hear what your thought is. What's your favorite dividend or ETF? Throw that in the comment section down below. But now's where the real work happens, because now you have 5 great ETFs that you can pick from as soon as you have enough money to be able to be investing. And coming up, possibly next year, very, very soon, you're going to have the opportunity of a lifetime, because a lot of these are gonna go on sale even further because we might be going into a recession. And when that happens, everything drops and a lot of people get super scared. And so that's the best time for you to be able to have a bunch of money ready to put into things like this. And so to be able to take full advantage, you're gonna wanna make sure and watch this video now and do everything that I say step by step so that you can set yourself up for financial freedom way quicker than most people will be able to.